Power doesn't speak. It radiates. The strongest men rarely announce themselves. They move like shadows, calm, deliberate, and unreadable. It's the weak who fill the air with sound. They explain, defend, justify, and beg to be understood. Every unnecessary word exposes a fracture in their confidence. The man who must keep proving his worth reveals he secretly doubts it. The one who argues for respect has already lost it. In every crowd, the loudest voice belongs to the most insecure soul. Look closely. The pattern never changes. The average man hides behind noise. His achievements, his opinions, his constant need to be seen. He believes attention equals authority. But the wise man knows the opposite is true. Noise is desperation made audible. Silence, on the other hand, is gravity. It draws attention without effort. In a world addicted to self-expression, restraint becomes rebellion. When you stop trying to be heard, people start trying to listen. The truth is simple. The more you speak, the more predictable you become. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to control. Every reaction, every explanation, every outburst makes you transparent. And transparency, in a competitive world, is death. The man who cannot keep his thoughts inside himself will always live under the influence of those who can. Silence isn't passivity. It's control. It's the quiet refusal to dance to someone else's rhythm. Observe the powerful. They do not rush to answer. They let silence stretch. And in that pause, the other side begins to tremble. People hate quiet because it forces them to face themselves. They start to talk just to fill the void, revealing more than they intended. The silent man doesn't compete for the spotlight. He becomes the gravity around which others orbit. His calm makes others restless. His lack of need becomes its own form of dominance. But silence requires strength. It's easier to shout than to hold your peace. The weak need validation to feel real. The strong can endure being misunderstood. They don't chase understanding. They command it through presence. When you master silence, your body speaks for you. Your eyes replace explanations. Your timing replaces arguments. You start to realize that you were never meant to outtalk anyone, only to outlast them. Power doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't announce, apologize, or explain. It simply stands, calm, certain, immovable. And in a world that cannot stop talking, that kind of stillness becomes almost mythical. Before a man speaks, his presence has already spoken. His energy enters the room before his voice does. People feel it in the way he moves, the way he stands, the way he doesn't rush. Presence is language without words, and most men never learn to speak it. They waste energy trying to impress through noise, when influence begins in silence. You can sense it when it's real. A man walks into a room and doesn't need to say anything, yet attention drifts toward him. He's not loud, not flamboyant, not performing. He's simply there, unbothered, measured. The rhythm of the space bends slightly around his calm. It's not about physical size or looks. It's about what he withholds. His restraint creates an invisible weight, a signal that says, I don't need this moment. This moment needs me. People mistake presence for confidence. It's deeper than that. Confidence is belief in your ability. Presence is proof that you no longer need to prove it. It's the quiet certainty of a man who knows exactly who he is without seeking confirmation. Every movement, every glance, every pause carries intent. Even silence becomes communication. When you hold eye contact without aggression, when you move slowly, when others rush, you project dominance through control. Understand this. Energy is contagious. The loud man spreads chaos. The still man spreads control. Whoever maintains composure defines the atmosphere. When your body language says, "I'm unshaken," others unconsciously calibrate to you. They lower their tone. They measure their words. You don't demand respect. You trigger it, and you do it without saying a word. But presence isn't an act. It can't be faked for long. It's the reflection of what's happening inside you. If your mind is chaotic, your presence will betray it. If your emotions control you, your silence will feel heavy but hollow. Real presence is the result of discipline, the alignment between thought, emotion, and action. It's born from the battles no one saw, the victories you never posted, the pain you never used for sympathy. You don't wear it, you become it. Every man has two choices: to speak to be seen, or to stand and be felt. The first gets attention, the second gets power. Words can be doubted, but presence cannot. You can lie with your mouth, but never with your energy. That's why true leaders don't need speeches. Their calm is a statement. Their stillness is strategy. Their silence is dominance wrapped in grace. Presence doesn't need permission. It simply exists, undeniable, unexplainable, unforgettable. Movement exposes emotion. Every unnecessary gesture, every twitch, every restless motion is a confession. It says, "I'm uncertain." The powerful man moves differently because he feels differently. His stillness is not stiffness, it's control. While others fidget, talk, and react, he waits. And in that waiting, something strange happens. Everyone else begins to move around him. Stillness is not absence of energy. It's directed energy, the ability to hold tension without releasing it. Most men panic in silence. They rush to fill the space, to ease the discomfort, to end the suspense. The strong man doesn't. He lets it stretch. He knows the longer the pause, the heavier it becomes. People start projecting meaning onto his silence. They assume intelligence, confidence, danger, all because he refuses to break the tension first. That's authority. It's not created by what you say, but by what you're willing to hold. You'll notice it in every great leader, every man who commands a room without trying. Their movements are deliberate, their faces unreadable. They don't chase reactions, they provoke them by doing nothing. The man who can remain still in chaos sends an unspoken message. I am in control of myself, and therefore I can control this moment. Others feel it instantly. Their tone softens. Their body language adjusts. It's primal. Humans are drawn to composure. The wayfarer is drawn to oxygen. But stillness is not easy. It's a skill born from discomfort, from learning to sit in moments that make others flinch. It's trained in arguments you don't respond to, insults you don't chase, and provocations you outlast. The weak man explodes. The wise man absorbs. He knows that every reaction feeds the enemy, while every pause starves him. Control is not found in suppression. It's found in understanding when not to act. Stillness also reveals observation. When you're calm, you see details others miss. The tone shifts, the nervous glance, the inconsistency in their story. The still man becomes the one who sees everything, and seeing everything means controlling the flow of every conversation, every encounter, every game of power, without saying a word. The modern world mistakes anxiety for ambition. Everyone's moving, chasing, grinding. But true strength doesn't rush. Stillness makes you strategic. It allows you to respond when the moment is right, not when your emotions demand it. And in a world that worships speed, calmness becomes a kind of rebellion, one that terrifies the impatient. The man who can hold still while others break isn't passive, he's calculating. Stillness is not the absence of action, it's the preparation for decisive action. When you move with purpose. When you speak, people listen, because they know your silence was never empty. It was loading. A man's real enemy is never another person. It's his own reaction. Every time you explode, argue, or rush to defend yourself, you trade power for relief. Anger feels strong in the moment, but it leaves you exposed. Control feels cold, but it builds fear and respect. The one who masters his temper wins wars without fighting them. The loud man believes emotion proves authenticity. The quiet man knows emotion is leverage. The more he exposes, the more he can be steered. When insulted, he doesn't flinch. When challenged, he doesn't rush to prove himself. He lets others show their lack of discipline first. Rage, jealousy, and ego all have one thing in common. They announce your weakness before you realize it. The man who can stand calm while being provoked owns the frame of every interaction. Restraint is not the absence of feeling. It's command over it. You still feel the fire, but you control where it burns. You redirect anger into precision, disappointment into focus, fear into patience. Emotional control turns chaos into clarity. You begin to notice what others miss, how people lose logic the moment they feel exposed, how every argument reveals more about emotion than fact. While they drown in reaction, you observe, analyze, wait. The silence becomes your shield. Their words become your evidence. Restraint is strategy disguised as peace. It unsettles people because it denies them the satisfaction of reaction. They want your anger. They want to see proof that they've reached you. When you refuse to give it, their confidence collapses. They start doubting themselves, questioning their effect, adjusting to your calm. That's power, not in aggression, but in emotional self-possession. The man who cannot be provoked becomes impossible to manipulate. Control is learned in repetition. The pause before responding, the breath before deciding, the quiet before acting. Each time you withhold the instinct to react, you sharpen the edge of your mind. It's training, invisible but brutal, and the reward is composure that no insult, no loss, no pressure can shatter. You become a fortress that looks still from the outside but holds storms within its walls. When restraint becomes instinct, words lose their hold over you. You no longer argue to be understood, you act to be remembered. Emotion becomes fuel, not fire. You walk through chaos untouched, calm, calculating, inevitable. Because the most dangerous man in any room isn't the one who's loudest. It's the one who could destroy you, but decides not to. And when he finally speaks, silence follows him like a shadow. Silence is not just defense. It's interrogation. The weak use words to extract information. The powerful use, silence. When you say less, people start talking to fill the void. They reveal motives, fears, and insecurities without realizing it. What they think is confidence is actually exposure. The quiet man doesn't need to ask direct questions. His stillness forces others to answer ones they weren't prepared to face. Most people are terrified of silence. They take it as judgment, rejection, or danger. So they speak, nervously, constantly, thoughtlessly. They explain themselves before being asked. They try to prove honesty, competence, innocence, all because they can't stand your calm. The more you say nothing, the more they need to justify everything. Every word they offer becomes intelligence you didn't have to request. The master listener always wins the room. While others chase attention, he collects data. He watches patterns. How voices shift when lying, how eyes dart when hiding something, how a man's tone breaks the moment he feels cornered. People are open books to the man who knows how to read silence. He doesn't need confrontation. He needs patience, because every human eventually betrays himself through words, and the quiet man is always there to catch them. The key is restraint. Don't rush to fill silence with comfort or approval. Let others feel the weight of it. It's not cruelty, it's control. The moment you speak to relieve tension, you surrender power. But if you can hold it, if you can stay calm while the air thickens, they'll start negotiating against their own interests just to end the discomfort. You'll learn everything you need without ever raising your voice. Information is the currency of power, and silence is the vault that gathers it. Talkers spend. Listeners accumulate. Every time you listen without reacting, you gain leverage. You start to see through people, who they envy, what they fear, what drives their ambition. And when you finally do speak, your words cut deeper because they're based on understanding, not impulse. But here's the deeper truth. Making others reveal themselves isn't manipulation. It's discipline. You're not tricking them. You're mastering yourself. You're learning to control your hunger to speak, to respond, to dominate the moment. You're training the mind to observe instead of perform. That's real intelligence, and it always ends the same way. The room talks itself into your hands. In the art of power, silence is not emptiness. It's a mirror, and when you hold it long enough, everyone else shows you who they really are. Power fades the moment you become predictable. The world loses interest in what it fully understands. Mystery is not manipulation, it's protection. The man who speaks less, reveals less, and moves less creates a field of gravity around himself. People are drawn toward what they cannot decode. The unknown becomes magnetic. Every crowd has one man everyone talks about, but few truly know. He's not loud, not visible, but he lingers in conversations long after he's gone. That's mystery. It's not a costume, it's a decision to let curiosity work for you instead of against you. Most men waste themselves trying to be known. The wise preserve themselves by remaining partially unseen, because when people can't place you, they overestimate you. Mystery works because the human mind fears uncertainty more than failure. When you leave blanks, people rush to fill them, and they almost always fill them in your favor. They assume depth, power, experience. Your restraint lets imagination do the work. The man who hides his full story forces others to build it for him. Their curiosity becomes submission disguised as fascination. But mystery isn't about distance, it's about direction. It's not hiding for fear of being judged. It's choosing what to reveal and when. You can't control every rumor or opinion, but you can control access. You decide who earns explanation and who earns silence. That scarcity creates value. When your attention becomes rare, your presence becomes expensive. People start to measure their words around you. They wait for your reaction, but you give none. You become the unseen variable that makes them second-guess themselves. Mystery also protects peace. The moment you overshare, you invite analysis, envy, and interference. The more they know, the more they think they understand. And the easier it becomes to predict or provoke you. When you give them less, they guess more. And their guessing keeps you in control. Power lies not in being known, but in being felt without exposure. Yet mystery must remain grounded. It's not arrogance, it's discipline. You don't act superior, you act secure. The mysterious man doesn't perform detachment. He simply doesn't explain himself to those who haven't earned it. His quiet confidence unsettles others because it implies an internal world stronger than any external validation. Mystery is gravity, invisible, silent, constant. It doesn't chase, it pulls. And when you understand how to create that pull, you stop running after opportunities. You make opportunities orbit you. Power built in silence outlasts every voice that mocked it. The loud chase applause, the silent chase excellence. The difference is time. The loud man needs validation now. The silent man knows his results will speak later, when noise fades and facts remain. Power that grows in quiet cannot be destroyed by opinion, because no one saw it being built. True strategy begins when you stop needing credit. The need to be recognized is the addiction that keeps most men small. They want the reward before they've earned the discipline. But the powerful man doesn't advertise effort. He hides it. He lets others underestimate him. He allows their doubt to shield his progress. Because while they talk, he builds. And when the structure is finished, it stands so tall that even his silence sounds like thunder. Serving silently is not submission. It's calculation. Every great leader begins as an unseen observer. You study, you adapt, you learn every system from the inside. You let others think they're above you, while you collect information they'll never notice. By the time they realize what you've become, it's too late. You're not competing anymore. You've outgrown the field entirely. Invisible progress is the most dangerous kind. No one prepares defenses against what they cannot detect. You train when others sleep. You think when others boast. You invest when others spend. Your life becomes a series of invisible victories, each one sharpening you while the world remains distracted. And then, one day, you appear. The quiet man they ignored is suddenly the one everyone depends on. That's not luck. That's patience disguised as inevitability. But silence in success isn't just tactical. It's moral. When you rise quietly, you offend no one on your way up. You leave no trail of envy, no record of arrogance. You rise clean. Your results speak without humiliation. Your competence commands without confrontation. People respect you because your power arrived without noise, without spectacle, without asking for permission. Remember, the most powerful men are often invisible until they're unavoidable. They build alliances quietly. They win loyalty through consistency. They let others take the spotlight while they take control of the stage. They don't shout, "Look at me." They whisper through results, "Try to move without me." When you learn to serve silently, you rise differently. No resistance, no warning, just presence, undeniable and complete. The highest form of power is not control over others. It's freedom from needing to. Every chain that binds a man is invisible, forged from his own desire. To be liked, to be feared, to be right, to be understood. The more he wants, the easier he is to move. The man who needs nothing cannot be bought, seduced, or provoked. Detachment is not coldness. It's sovereignty, the ability to exist untouched in a world built on reaction. Most men live as prisoners of attention. They crave it like air. They measure their worth through replies, validation, acknowledgement. But the one who detaches breaks that cycle. He learns that attention is currency, and silence is wealth. The less you depend on what can be taken from you, the more dangerous you become. People sense it instinctively. The man who doesn't chase them, control them, or explain himself holds the real power. He's not driven by fear of loss, because he's already let go of what most are desperate to keep. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means choosing where your energy goes, and refusing to waste it where it gains nothing. You stop arguing, stop proving, stop begging reality to make sense. You move with intention, not impulse. The man who can walk away at any time commands every room he enters because he's not negotiating from need. He's operating from choice. Every relationship, every opportunity, every battle is approached with calm because nothing owns him. The detached man's silence feels different. It's not passive. It's decisive. He can say no without anger, walk away without drama, and end a war without words. Detachment gives him precision. Emotion clouds aim. Detachment sharpens it. While others drown in their reactions, he watches, calculates, and moves when timing is perfect. He understands that to control outcome, you must first control attachment, because the world cannot hurt the man who doesn't depend on it, and that is what makes him terrifying. People can't manipulate what they can't tempt. They can't threaten what they can't reach. They can't destroy what doesn't fear loss. Every attempt to shake him falls flat, because his foundation is internal, not external. He stopped needing applause, revenge, and recognition. He became complete the moment he realized the fight for control ends when you master yourself. Detachment isn't escape. It's elevation. It's walking through chaos with steady breath. It's power that no one can see, but everyone feels. It's the quiet confidence that says, "Take what you want. I remain." That is domination, not through fear, not through fame, through absolute composure. The loud build empires that crumble. The silent build themselves and rule everything after. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply watches, and everything around it adjusts.